Hi, this is Muthusundaram again. Today we are going to look at session 3, which will cover business incubation for planning an incubator. As always, we insist you spend 30 seconds to write down what you hope to accomplish at the end of this module. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write it down. As always, you don't have to share it with me or with anybody else. It's only for yourself. Okay, let's move on. In this session, we're going to look at how to plan an incubator. Obviously, first thing is you establish an incubator is a significantly long-term investment for your community. So you need to spend a lot of time to ensure you're doing the right thing. Next thing is effectively planning is a key factor in ensuring the future success of such an initiative and that the return on investment for the principal stakeholders, in particularly if it is an institution, if it is a business incubator run by a private establishment, you would expect it to get your return on investment. It's not only necessarily in terms of money. It can be the number of startups, the number of jobs, number of valuations, a whole lot of metrics we can use. Next, therefore, the incubator should apply a systemic approach to plan an incubator. So the first thing they need to do is to do a feasibility study. Then they need to have a business plan. And then they need to establish optimal operational strategies. So you got to follow these three steps. The feasibility study has various components. The first one is the pre-feasibility study. You need to do a little bit of homework to see whether what you need to do your feasibility study. Things like resources, funding, who's going to do the study, all this should be done first. Then you need to work out your components within your feasibility studies. And then you need to understand the market need, which needs to include the stakeholder analysis. After which you compile the results of a market research study. And then how do you assess the incubator is not the appropriate solution, or is it the appropriate solution? How do you assess that? So all this has to be done. So you might find after doing a study that you are not ready, or your institution doesn't require an incubator, they could use a nearby incubator. So all this is important to work out whether it will be feasible for you to run the component objectives. At the end of this component, incubator should first understand the importance of putting together the right team to plan an incubator. You need to know how the feasibility study is going to take, how long will it take to complete, how do you complete, what are the cases you're going to put together, and so on. And then you're going to interpret the results of the feasibility study to arrive at a go or no go decision on whether or not to pursue with your incubator. So this is why it's called the first component. Once you're ready, you need to look at your pre-feasibility study. What does it include? First of all, putting a team together to run the incubator. Secondly, you need to be setting up an incubator working as a group. So it's lots of people have to be involved in this first. And then the incubator model, how does it work? It has a group who typically involves stakeholders from one, the local government, very important because they could help you in terms of land, spice, some local funding. You need to be able to work with the public and private local economic development authorities, universities, research institutions around the place, private and funding and finance sector, so you are able to get support for incubator and other enterprise development. You also need to look at specific sectors to see if you're going to do ICT, you're going to agro, you're going to do medical, you're going to do health. You need to make sure you look at your stakeholders for all these. What is the initial task of the development team? First of all, to reach consensus on the basic concept and objectives for your incubator. So unless you have that basic concept and objectives for your incubator, it is going to be tough for you to move to the next stage. Next, you need to set a time frame and the tasks you're going to do to work on getting your incubator on your way. Third, you need to learn more about business incubation. So you might visit other places, learn from others, so you'll be able to successfully do this. Next, you need to secure funding for your feasibility study. Not only for your incubator, even for your feasibility study, you need to raise the money because your touring, your market analysis, all cost money. Then you need to implement your study. While implementing a study, you will look at the results and plan for the next phase of the development. So here is what you need to do first. How do you learn and build capacity? Of course, doing online training, listening to a program like this, do incubator tour, which I said in the last slide. Keep up to date with emerging trends. So you need to maybe subscribe to magazines, online news, blogs to make sure you are in with what is the latest technology happenings. Now, feasibility study needs to include the following. It has to analyze the market opportunity for growth. Whatever you plan to do in your area, you need to ensure there's growth for a start. Then you need to analyze whether you'll be able to get entrepreneurs that would be potential clients for you. Then you need to map organizations that will help provide services to entrepreneurs. Then you need to look at analyzing how easy it is to access and cost of basic infrastructure and services for your small businesses. And then you need to have outreach programs in order to get actors in the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem to raise awareness and build stakeholder buy-in for your potential partnership. So there's a lot of hard work when you're doing your feasibility study. Then the topics in the feasibility study, you need to find out the stakeholder buy-in. That's the community which is going to use your incubator and project champions. Then you need to look at your market and look at whether there's enough entrepreneurs in that vicinity to help your ability. And then you need to look at the ability of your team. Do you have a right team to run the incubator? Then you need to set a set of facilities and services. How are you going to do this? Some could be your own, some you could rent, some you could lease, some you could outsource. So very, very important. The last, not the least, is to find out how you're going to do the funding in short term and long term to establish the running costs of your incubator. Now you need to understand the market. Very important as we keep talking about. Just like a startup, an incubator needs to understand its market. So you need to know who your target market is. The methodology for market research also is important. So your managers will need to learn how to do market research. There are three essential steps in market research. First, you need to have a survey design, following through consultation, you need focus groups and potential clients to help you with the survey so you can get a valuable input to see how your incubator should be set. The market analysis issues would be often we lack the knowledge and understanding of the market. So that creates a problem to a new team and new industry and new market for business incubation. So there is a lot of learning from there. Next, qualifying interest from the business incubation. How do you express interest? Then you also have insufficient demand. Then you have to have research expertise required to ensure your market analysis is worked through properly. Once you have done that, you need to now do your market research study. Here you need your stakeholder buy-in. That's the community which is around you, who's going to support you, going to help, and you need project champions. So you will need your senior management to help you to make sure they give you that support. You need to work out all the services you're going to provide. You may not provide all of them at one go. You may take several steps, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and ensure that these are given to the incubators. Unfortunately, as you are fully aware, the incubators do not have money to spend. So many of these services will have to be rendered for free. So you need to make sure how you're going to be able to do this. Now, you're now ready to look for a facility. So you need to locate, even within your own school, college, you need to still locate. Then you need to decide the size. You can start small, but you should always know how you can expand. And what type of building are you going to do? What is the ICT infrastructure? The incubated development in a located building, and the structure and arrangement of the facilities within the incubator. So this is the overall of your facility you need to consider. Next, structure and arrangement of facilities. As a general rule, the building needs to be suitable, flexible, and you are able to configure to what you plan to do. So even you get an existing building, that's fine, but you need to ensure that you can make modification to the existing building to suit your needs. The main recommendation should be to maximize rental space if you're paying rent. If you are short of space within the college, you got to make sure whatever space you get, you're making maximum utilization of it. Now, what should the incubator offer? The incubator must offer several services. The first one, you should be able to analyze and evaluate technology, market, and financial aspects of a project. So this is where you create value to your startup. Next, you need to do a package of services for developing entrepreneurship. So you may bring in experts, you may bring in professors to give them skills in entrepreneurship. And then you need to assist them and guide them in preparing business plans, because this is a live document and many startups do not have the expertise to build this. You need to support them in raising funds. So you need to know where you can go and raise funds. You need to coach the companies for the develop. So they need to be helped. This is meant part of the mentoring process, coaching, mentoring, teaching. All this is required. And then you establish connection between companies and knowledge centers, so your incubators can reach out to them when they need support. You also need to look at cross-border cooperation in case the companies are looking to go overseas. And also we need to introduce the innovation to existing companies. So it will be good to have regular interaction with industry. The results of market analysis survey. You take the survey and then you study what has come out of the survey. So you'll be able to, based on that, you will have to rent a space or rent below market or whatever it is. But most often incubators are in mother institutions. So, or you call them the host. The host institutions generally don't take any rent. So you are pretty much safe in that sense. You don't have an overhead regularly. And then you have to have access to traditional business supports like accounting, legal, secretarial, and so on. So all this is crucial. Now, we talked about the importance of a vision. In order for you to have a vision, you must have a mission. So you must be supporting SME development by providing them not only office space. Today, there are hundreds and hundreds of places offer space everywhere in the country. Therefore, just offering space does not help. You need to help them in production. You need to help them in business-related services in the most critical development phases. An incubator, as it suggests, is just like putting a baby which is premature to be mature. So you need to help them, or in the case of having an egg in the incubator, you have to keep it at the right temperature to help the egg to hatch so you can get the chicks out of it. So it's very, very important. The role of the incubator is to ensure it supports its incubators to that level. We need to carry out activities which will contribute to the economic development and to decrease the unemployment rate. Basically, by decreasing the unemployment rate, you created new jobs. Now, what is the incubator's goal? First of all, it should be looking at contributing to its local development. That is the first thing the incubator should look at. Next, it should promote local SMEs and provide assistance to support the development of new businesses. It should also help to increase the survival of these businesses. Often, the survival rate can be further enhanced if we give them the right support at the right time. It's just like in the ICU. So if you give them the right treatment, the chances of them of getting out of the ICU is good. So you need to give them the right proper support, mentoring, and so on. So the goal is to reduce market failure. And then you have to enable cost-efficient business setup and processes. That's what you have to help. Give them services they can afford to pay. Provide them consulting. Provide them education, technical services, so they can build their businesses. So you need to foster innovation and development of new technology. This is why it is so important. We need to foster the commercialization of scientific research, especially in academic institutions. There's so much scientific research not going out to the market. So it should be the goal of the incubator to drag this out of the parent institution, bring it into the incubator, let it go out to the market. To contribute means you reduce unemployment rates. That's the goal of the incubator. The incubator's management team implementing objectives. First, the incubator should promote entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit in the ecosystem through the incubator. To attract tenants, you might have to use local paper, your own students, you might encourage local radio, whatever. But all this costs money when you have to advertise. So initially, you may want to support it within your own organization. You should reach at least 80% rate within 2 years, if not more. And then you need to promote the incubator through websites, events, through other incubators. Go partner them because every incubator has got its own uniqueness. So we might be able to help. For example, a second or third tier city could go to the first tier city in terms of raising funding or going to market. They would be able to help them better because most of the funders, most of the marketing companies, most of the headquarters for huge industry are in those major cities. So it always helps to have partnership. Next, you need to increase the incubation space available within the incubator. That should be the objective of the management team. Keep increasing your space. But obviously, everything has to have a maximum and minimum. The importance of having a vision for your incubator. Now, vision of the incubator. The new vision for the incubator should focus on the following. First, facilitating and enabling startups to access funding. That's very, very important. Next, increase cooperation between the university in order to enhance technology commercialization and merging of successful spin-offs from your activities. And then you should develop new products such as setting up a virtual incubators to solve the space issue. That's what I said in the last slide. We can't keep increasing the space because as you increase space, cost also increases. So you need to have an optimal space, and then after which you need to start doing virtual incubation. Now, an incubator should provide the following set of tools. The first one, it should be able to provide technical and commercial partner search, where it should help them to partner with others who can technically support them, commercially support them. We need to facilitate integration of new businesses to local, national, and international markets. We need to provide economic data required by study projects. So your startups have the data. We need to provide them with logistics support to enable them to operate. Therefore, the incubator should provide the following service: incubation, housing them, providing them information, and guiding. By doing this, you need to provide them with training and coaching. And then you might give accommodation, but most incubators in these parts of the world are independent from accommodation. So there could be an opportunity for some incubator to start a residential program. You should always help them with funding. Now, business incubation is so important for SMEs. It's an engine for economic growth, innovation, and incubation is building with shared resources. So the cost comes down for each one of these companies because you're sharing this cost across. It enables a dramatic impact for the SMEs. Germinating, incubating, and accelerating are the flavors. You need to have resources and flexibility. These are the environmental key. Networking, knowledge should be shared among key partners. We need to have financial, legal, business, development, etc. And then we need to look at the proposal for an incubator. First, it should be simplistic, is the key. Run the business, run the building, not the business. Okay, first, so it should be simplicity is the key. Next, volume is key. Yes and no. The larger the volume, you could be in trouble. So you need to make sure you balance out between the two. Next, you need to have flexible programs. And then you're looking at public involvement, key to making the investment attractive, especially for awareness and leadership. And you need to keep your incubation simple, acceleration, don't germinate. Our incubator office should be spacious, should be flexible lease, as I said, but most of you may not fall in that. It should have shared services, it should have good internet and technology access. We need meeting rooms as well. So these are some of the things an incubator has. Now, this is one of the incubators we have designed. As you can see how beautifully it's designed. It has to suit the startups. So the incubator space, you need to develop such a way with the purpose. And you need to use the space purposefully. And you need to have creative space where they can work together, they can work alone, and so forth. So it's very, very important to spend a little bit of time in your design. How do you form an incubator? You can form it as a society, you can form it as Section 8 or a trust. It depending on what your parent institution is doing, you will then decide accordingly. Each one has got its own benefits and own disadvantages. My recommendation is you speak to your accountant and lawyer based on your mother institution. What would you like to do? And then decide which one of these paths you would go. Now, the incubation program, you should be able to do assessments, you should have referral programs, you should have support groups, you should have mentors, you should have workshops, you should have monthly debate so people can debate among themselves and learn from each other. We should create networking and we should create a toolkit for SMEs. So these are some of the things an incubator program should be. Now, the organization chart. We need to have a managing director or CEO if you can afford it. If you can't, you start as a manager. Then you need to have someone who can take care of finance, somebody who takes care of IT, and then you have an incubation manager who will run the incubator. And this could be two people, one looking at technology and one looking purely at business. And then you have an operation manager who runs the place. You don't need all these people in one go. Initially, you can start with 2, 3, and then you can increase your numbers as you need. Now, in terms of finance, what do? You need to make sure your financial models are bleeding different revenues for you. So you need to ensure that the revenues are coming from different streamlines. You can move in and out of incubator as funds select market dictates. So depending on what happens, then you need to make sure the commercial rents across subsidy incubation programs. So these are again important. Now, funding proposal. You can get long-term loans, you can get grants from public sector or donors, private investment, short-term loans. Initially, you need to start with your own, probably parent institution giving you some funding to get you moving. Now, these are some of the places in India you can get some help. As I already said, the host should probably help you initially, then you can attempt government funding. There's a whole lot of them. AIM, BIRAC, MITI, MSME, NRTC, DST. You can also look at CSR money. That's why it's important to get friendly with the local community so they will be able to support you. We got to get hold of the alumni. We are not strong in terms of alumni in this country. Besides the IITs and the IIMs, the rest of us are extremely weak at this. So we need to pull the alumni. We got to build industry connect so we will be able to tap on resources from them. Now, leading points of risk. First, least short term to realize decent ROI, it says. I don't think it will help many of you in this place. And then you must make sure there is no sudden spike in space in the area you are. And make sure there's enough companies which are going to use the space you have. And the location should be attractive. And construction should be significantly required. So you need to make sure you don't get into too much construction. Now, in conclusion, first, you should support both. Rather, you should get support from both public and private sector. We need to have large ICT industries, must be mixed use. And there could be shortage of space in your area. So you need to make sure you are taking care of all that. And as always, we ask you to do three things. Identify your key takeaway from this lecture. First thing. Secondly, how does it relate to you? And then what are you going to share that you heard from this lecture? As I keep saying in all my sessions, even you learn one thing from me, each of my sessions, it's a delight and it's definitely doing a good job. Now, as usual, we've made references to the InfoDev Business Information Toolkit, so we acknowledge that. And as always, this is how you contact me through email, mobile, Amazon, and of course, you know my YouTube channel because this is on my YouTube channel. So I want to say thank you for listening to session 3. Session 3 is also now complete. We plan to run these sessions every Wednesday until I complete. So please look out on the channel when the next one is. Thank you very much for listening to me.